Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Sylvia and I make videos on planning with the occasional review. Planning has always been my way of working out problems and solving the day-to-day issues in my life. Join me as I experiment on how to best tackle projects, figure out how to stick with habit tracking, and celebrate the wins, both big and small. So grab a cup or a glass of whatevs and let's get on with the video. Hello planner friends, take 50. I was trying to figure out how to explain this, and I think I finally got it down. So I was having a conversation with someone who had some questions, and I mean, she didn't even have a question. She had some comments and thoughts, and it turned into a question. Anyway, trying to explain it to her by texting on Instagram felt like schizophrenia, and I felt like, man, without a visual, this doesn't make any sense, because she's new to planning and new to travelers' notebooks. So the conversation really was about printing inserts and how you make them work for you. She really didn't understand that. She was like, well, you know, your planner has a layout and that's the layout you're stuck with. And I was like, no, not on this channel. So let's talk about that a little bit. Here is the Hobonichi Weeks A6 vertical weekly. Now, I'm not a fan of Tomoe river paper, and I'm not a fan of vertical weeklies. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well then Sylvia, why the hell do you have this? Because I make my planners work for me and not the other way around. So what I ended up doing was turning this into a habit tracker that is a horizontal habit tracker. So here I have audiobooks, physical books, TV shows, and meal planning. And I just go straight across with a line. Here are the dailies. And so for Monday, I can write down what audiobook I listen to and go down the line. And that's what works best for me. So for habit tracking, I like having all of the year all in one place. Look how skinny mini this is. It fits no matter what size of planner I'm in. Even in a passport, which is slightly smaller, I can kind of use it like this. I don't have my passport next to me, but I can put it in the back and use the strap, and it works really well, and I can take it with me if I need to. This has all the information I need for habit tracking. And I don't really like to do that in my regular planner, but for some reason it works in here. And that's what I mean by having a planner and making it work for you and not the other way around. So that brings us to my standard traveler's notebook in blue. And the conversation was mostly around this second insert here. So both of these inserts are by Perfective Paper, and you can buy printables and print them out yourself. That has been a struggle. So if you haven't seen this, I have these little like lines here, like little notches. Those are cut lines, and they're throughout this insert and this insert, and I couldn't figure out what the hell I was doing wrong. Now I keep saying I have a new printer, I have a new eco printer, but it's been like 3 months. I've just only used it like 3 or 4 times because I just got back into printing stuff for my planner. And so what I didn't realize, and I just want to mention this to people, is make sure that when you buy or purchase these inserts that it doesn't automatically say 96%. So I wasn't printing it at 100, so I was missing these marks. And whenever I cut down my inserts, I always measure them against a traveler's notebook insert so that they're all the same size. And for some reason, having it be the same size as all my other inserts, was more important than these cut lines being seen. I just don't even care about that. So I'm aware, and I have written a little note to myself for the next quarter, because this weekly prints in quarters, and for the dailies for June, so that hopefully I will be a little more on track with this nonsense. So it's not just you out there who are new to planning that have struggles. I mean, the struggles are real. It is what it is, and you live and you learn. Okay, so this second insert has 2 inserts in one. So the weekly insert looks like this. It's a week on 2 pages. And when I first printed this and I bound it with a staple in the center, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And it is. However, off to the side, there's not a lot of space to break down my what are these called? I'm calling them projects. So reading an audiobook is a project for me because I also want to do a book journal as well as usually a little 3-minute discussion. And so I needed a space to also include that over here, and there isn't any. So I thought, okay, I need project pages, and I didn't want a full-on whole insert for that. So I went ahead and I found this weekly insert by Perfective Paper. Now there was something about having all my weeklies all in one place. So I went ahead and cut it down and put it in the center of this insert. And what I did was I just put it in the center, folded it over, and I just, you know, drew a line with a pencil so I could see where I needed to cut it, and did that so they would fit nicey nice in the middle. But her first question was like, okay, here's the thing. As much as I love this because she understands that I didn't feel like I needed a whole insert for this, she doesn't like the fact that when it comes to week 21, this is in the way and you can't really see the week full on like you can in past weeks like this. And she's like, that would drive me crazy. And I understand that. So her question was like, does that drive you crazy? And if I do want like 2 inserts in one, how would I do that and get away from this whole fiasco? And so I told her there's at least 3 different ways that I know of to get out of this. So if she decided to go ahead and put a second insert in the center, the first thing I would recommend is not to bind the pages to the actual insert. And I didn't do that. I had already created this insert when I was like, I need more pages. So I put this in the center. When it comes to this week, which is going to happen in a couple of days, you can go ahead and just take this out because it's not bound, and put it in another insert. So here's another insert which I have yet to use. This is a Moleskine large that I have gone ahead and cut down to traveler's notebook size. And you can just put it in the center of here. That way it doesn't bug you for the full-on week. And if you're someone's like, but Sylvia, I need all of my weeklies in one place. I don't want it in another insert. I hear you. This is just an easy fix, and it doesn't matter if you put it in the back insert or the front insert. It's just something that you can do to get it out of your way for that week. If that is not something you want to do because you want all your weeks in one place, you can take it out and wrap it around your weekly insert, and it's just not that serious. Now, the way I cut this down is that when it's in the center, it fits nicey nice. When it's going to be on the outside, this is probably going to be a little bit shorter and not line up as well, as you can see there. And if that doesn't bother you, then it's not that serious. If it doesn't bother you that you don't have some kind of like neat cover, you can just put it around here for 1 week, and it's going to be just like this, no worries, and then I can flip back to this week. That is another way you can fix this. Now, if you want something that's a little more permanent, because right away these are already kind of like slipping around because they're not in the center and they're not held by this elastic, which works a little bit better, then I would recommend doing something else. And this is sort of where I felt like I was losing her, because it's hard to explain when you don't have a visual, and even then it might still be like, what are you talking about, lady? And this is when I recommend that you just play around with your printer and figure out what works best for you. So here is a daily insert. This is the new one that I purchased. It's the first insert in here that I replaced my last notebook with. So let's say that you have this and this is your main insert. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and print out your second insert like this weekly. And I would put this down first and then put your main insert on top, so that when you flip through, all of your weeks are on one side here, and then you have your main insert. Now remember, what you do to the front, you also do to the back. So let's see, there are 52 weeks in a year, 4 quarters. So that's like what? The answer is 13. There's 13 weeks. So if you print out, let's see, 3 of these pages, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to get 6 weeks in the front and 6 weeks in the back. So you would have to also print out at least 1 week that was not back-to-back pages in order to get all 13 weeks. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, it sounds like schizophrenia. I know what I'm talking about, and sometimes when you know what you're talking about, like math teachers, they don't explain it properly and know how to break it down because you know what you're saying, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's sort of how this works. And to show you what that would look like is just, again, if you took this insert and you put it in the front, before you bound and you cut it, it would all be in the beginning. And then instead of printing this here, I would just print it in the front here. So it's just not that serious. So that's something else you could do. Another thing that you can also do is what I did here in this first insert. So again, I wanted some dailies. So I went ahead and purchased this insert from Crefective Paper, printed it out, and then realized, I think I want some extra pages just for brainstorming. So I went ahead and did exactly what I said. I printed off some dot grid. and I put it down first. I laid that down first, and then I put my main insert on top. So when I folded everything together, there was dot grid. And again, what you do to the front, you do to the back. So here's all these dot grid pages I have in the back of this insert. Now in the front, I decided, oh man, I really, even though I wanted free dailies, I also wanted a dated monthly. And there is a couple of different versions on her page. I say her, but I don't know that, on this company's page, where website rather, where they do have like a bundle pack, but it was like a lot of stuff that comes with it, and I couldn't figure out whether you could print some things and not others. And so instead of trying to buy something else, and I believe this company also does customs, and I'm not sure how long I would want to stick with this, I just went ahead and went to one of my favorite websites, papertraildesigns.com, and I printed off one of my favorite freebie monthlies, and I shrunk it down to fit in a traveler-sized standard notebook. And I just glued this side of the left onto this extra dot grid I had added already to this insert. Then I didn't glue down the right-hand side. And at some point when I was making this, I thought, oh man, I'd really like to have June in here. Now, this first insert is actually just dailies for the month of May. We are halfway through May at this point, and so I just wanted to try it out for a month, because I was like, what if I don't even stick with it before I finish, the rest of the quarter with dailies? So this is a little bit more skinny mini than it probably actually would be. So I didn't mind adding dot grid to the beginning because it was less pages. But because I wanted to forward it, I went ahead and printed out June, and then I glued it to the back side of this right hand May, and I left the right side of June unglued. Now you can glue this down if you want to, but I kind of like having 2 extra pages to just brainstorm on, and I don't care that these don't match. So what happened here, and again, we're talking about Frankensteining things and making it work for you. This was aligned that's actually smaller than 5mm grid, which I'm not a fan of, that I actually had, I think, that came with another Corrective paper insert. And so I printed on the back just to see how it would work and if I liked it. It was too small for me, so I ended up buying the dot grid in 5mm. Now, don't quote me on this, but just make sure that you pay attention if you do buy the dot grid by this company, because they do have, I think, 4 and 3mm for the smaller, for the people who like smaller grid. So just be aware. I can't remember if you can purchase this on its own or if you can purchase like a bundle. There might be both, because there's so many different inserts on this website, where you can buy a bundle of all 3. So just be aware if you're looking for a certain millimeter. So it's not every other spread. It's just randomly here and there you'll get some dot grid, because I like having it in between. That just works for me. And I decided this time, instead of doing this situation where I had these pages in the center blocking this week from being able to be seen all at once, and in the center here, just go ahead and print dot grid. That way I wouldn't have that issue. And so if I wanted to go ahead, and they print on 2 pages like this, so you can actually cut them out and tape them in, and it's not that serious. You can do something like that. So this just allows me to have more options and places to tip and tape things in. But ever so many pages, I do have some dot grid within this main insert. And again, there are more dot grid at the back. And so that's sort of how I take a planner that is just only supposed to be days free, and I add in a monthly calendar, and that's how I make it work for me. So to recap, you can have an insert within an insert. That sounds like Inception, and make it work for you. So for instance, this probably wouldn't work if you went ahead and put it in the center, because it's not a traveler's notebook insert, meaning that the monthly usually has a square box like this and a square box like this, so that you don't have the situation where Thursday is going to fall in between the elastic. But because this is in the fold, it's just not that serious for me, and I don't have an issue with that. If this was in the center and I always had to move the elastic, that might be a little more irritating for me. But again, this is how I get around that. And I can have May and June, and I can flip back and forth between the two. If I had May in the center here. June would probably be behind it, and we'd have that same situation of me having to toggle back and forth or hold this like in the center so I could see all of June. Like imagine this is May, and I'd be like, okay, here's June, and on this side and on this side. So that is sort of how you get out of that. And that is everything I think I have on how I make inserts and planners really work for me using examples. Is there anything I left out? Please leave them in the comments below. Also, if you have some questions about anything we went over that I didn't go into depth with, or you know, another question that's like, okay, now that you did this, it brings the question of this, please put that in the comments below as well. Maybe this just sounded like schizophrenia, I don't even know. All right, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Oh my god, guys, I'm in dailies, I know.